Welcome to Mr. Brandt's 5th grade Everyday Math Review. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing lesson 5.14, which is fraction division part 2. In fraction division part 1, we went over fractions divided by a whole number. In this lesson, we're going over a whole number divided by a fraction. And here are two sample problems, and let's start with the one on the left. So Timmy Tom has 4 pounds of beef jerky. He wants to make 1/3 pound pieces for his friends. How many 1/3 pound pieces will he have? All right, for our number model, he started with 4 pounds of beef jerky. So we've got our 4 pounds of beef jerky, and he wanted to make 1/3 pound pieces. So he wants to divide it into 1/3 pound pieces. So we're going to take 4 divided by 1/3, and that's going to equal, I'm going to use a B for beef jerky. Now, another way we could do that, we can actually write that as a multiplication expression as well. And for this, we would start with our letter for beef jerky. Then we're going to multiply that by 1/3, and that is going to equal 4. So either of these number models would be correct. So now let's draw a model. So I'm going to have my 4 rectangles representing the 4 pounds of beef jerky. We're going to imagine that all of these are exactly the same size. They're pretty close, not quite exactly. Now, I'm going to divide each of those pieces into thirds. So now I have each divided into thirds. And remember, each piece then is worth 1/3. Now, how many total pieces do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12, and I'm going to put this in parentheses, 1/3 pound pieces. On your home link, after writing down the answer, it asks you to write a summary number model. So for this problem, the summary number model is going to be 4 divided by 1/3 equals 12. Then they are also asking you to check using multiplication. So I'm going to grab a different color for this. So to check using multiplication, we're going to start with our answer, which would be 12. We're going to multiply that by the fraction. Then we're going to get to our answer. Now, a whole number as a fraction is that number over 1. So in this case, it would be 12 over 1. Now, when we're multiplying fractions, we can just multiply the numerators together. So 12 times 1 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. So we have 12/3. Now, you could leave it there, or we talk a lot about how fractions are division problems. So 12 divided by 3 is 4, which gets us back to our number here. Now let's look at our second sample problem. And our second sample problem is Ben the baker was making jelly-filled Long John donuts. A customer ordered 5 Long Johns and wanted each cut in half. How many halves did Ben give the customer? So our number model for this problem is going to be the 5 Long Johns, and since they're going to be cut in half, we're going to divide that by half, and I'm going to make that equal D for donuts. And an opposite way to write this would be starting with our D for donuts, multiplying that by half, and then that will equal our 5 donuts. Now, the last time I used rectangles for the example. This time I'm going to use a number line. It's not the straightest, but it will work. So our whole number is 5. So I'm going to make this number line go out to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Didn't quite get that one the greatest. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And since we're dividing by half, I'm going to add, or I'm going to divide each of these into halves. So that's a half, 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 half. Starting from 0, I'm going to count how many halves I have in 5. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I look back at my question, how many halves did Ben give the customer? He gave them 10 halves. Now, for the summary number model, we can refer back to our problems up here. So we have 5 divided by half equals 10. And then to check using multiplication, we could go 10 times 1/2 equals, and again, a whole number as a fraction is over 1. So 10 over 1 times 1/2. 10 times 1 is 10. 1 times 2 is 2. That would be 10 halves. Fractions are division problems. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. And that matches our problem up here. So that's the end of the two example problems for the top of the home link, and let's move on to the practice. For the practice problems, there are a few division problems, and to start with, they ask you to make an estimate. So my estimate for this one is I'm going to look at this 30, and I want to make a compatible number with 30 that's close to this. Well, to do that, I'm going to look at the 3 and the 27. So I know that 9 times 3 is 27. So I'm going to make my compatible number 2,700 divided by 30. And for each of those, I can get rid of, or I can cancel out the 0, which is the same as dividing both number by 10. I know that 27 divided by 3 is 9. And then I have my 0 here, so it's 90. So my estimate is going to be 90. Now let's jump in and do the actual division problem. So my first step is to divide, and to do that, I'm going to see how many groups of 30 I can get from 2. I can't get any groups of 30 from 2. So now I'm going to look at the 27. I can't get any groups of 30 from 27. So now I have to look at 279. Up here, my estimate was 90. So I'm going to try 30 times 9. Okay, I got my 9 from here. And 30 times 9, 0 times 9 is 0. 3 times 9 is 27. So that gives me 270, and that works. So I'm going to put my 9 up at the top because I can get 30 groups. I can get 9 groups of 30 in 279. My next step is to multiply. So I'm going to take the number that I wrote up at the top and multiply it by the divisor. And I already did that over here. So 9 times 30 is 270. Then my next step is to subtract. 9 subtract 0 is 9. 7 subtract 7 is 0. 2 subtract 2 is 0. Then I have to compare. And to compare, I'm just checking to make sure this is smaller than my divisor, because if it isn't, I divided wrong. That's correct. So after that, I bring down the 6. Since I brought down, I'm going to repeat. And to do repeating that, I go back up to division. So now I'm going to have 96 divided by 30. And just to double check, I'm pretty sure that 30 times 3 will be less than 96. So 0 times 3 is 0. 3 times 3 is 9. And that works. So I can get 3 groups of 30 from 96. Now I'm going to multiply this times the divisor again. So 3 times 30 is 90. Then I subtract. 6 subtract 0 is 6. 9 subtract 9 is 0. I compare. 6 is less than 30. There's no more numbers to bring down. So now I have a remainder, and my remainder is going to be 6. So 93, remainder 6. Thanks for watching the video. Hope it was helpful. That was the last lesson in Unit 5, and our next video will get started with Unit 6.